Hi there team, Coach Alexa here. So I wanted to build through this series about walking. So I talked last week about how walking can support our running from a sort of training perspective, recoveries and such like. And now I wanted to talk about how walking can be a good part in the beginning of that fitness journey. So if somebody comes to me and they want to, I don't know, build up to a 5K, 10K, if they've got a goal for a half marathon the following year, something like that. One of the questions I ask when I, create their sort of completely bespoke approach, as I do with all of my runners, is what walking are you doing at the moment? Have you got a step tracker that tells you how many steps a day, or do you walk the dog, or whatever it might be? Because that is a really good indicator of where people are. Walking is a lower impact sport than running, but there's still an element of impact there. It's great for our movement pattern. It does raise our heart rate a bit. So, it's building that cardiovascular base. And we can get a little bit jazzy with the walking as a starting point as well. So you can do kind of fartlek style brisk walking intervals. Brisk walking up hills gets your cardiovascular and heart rate up more than you might think. So it can be a great thing to do as a starting point to move into other areas of cardiovascular fitness. For a lot of people, it is a good thing to get nailed before they start down the journey of the much higher impact sport of running. The Couch to 5K, if you've done it or if you've read about it, those first 4 weeks you are doing more walking than running. There's a good reason for that. It's a good way to kind of build fitness, particularly if people haven't done much in the way of activity recently. Building that walking in, it's not just recovery from the running, it is, it has its own place and its own purpose in that programme for a reason. And I think it's just quite accessible. So, running is a relatively accessible sport, although some people go out of their way to make it quite expensive, but it can be quite an accessible sport. A reasonable pair of running shoes, and if you're a woman, a sports bra, and you can get started in it. With walking, if you own just a pair of reasonable trainers of any sort, really, you can start off doing some walking around your local area on the pavements, in the parks and bits and pieces quite easily. No other things really required. So I love it. I love it as a starting point, as a way to get more active, as a way to get outside more, as a way to get out in nature more, all of which are fantastic for both our brains and bodies. What is not to like?